Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize for that. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. Not sure what episode number, because it has come to my attention that my number was a little bit off the last time that I checked. And whenever I was numbering them to put them into the Discord channels so that everyone who's in the Discord, by the way, if you're not in the Discord, you should definitely join the Discord, because yesterday I stayed up practically all night. Yesterday, as in Tuesday, I stayed up practically all night numbering all of the episodes, making sure that I had all of the right permissions and all of the right coding or whatever it is. Discord is really, really hard to understand for beginners. It's not really, I wouldn't say user friendly. And now the only thing I need is someone to get in there and moderate my server once in a while. Check to make sure that there's nobody who's dicking around in my server, because I can't be there all the time, Like, I got stuff I gotta do. I got a job. I would say I got kids and act like Heath Slater, but unfortunately, or rather, what I should say, fortunately, I don't have kids, because I don't need children in my life right now. I'm trying to focus on my career. I'm trying to focus on what's important to me, and children are not important to me. Nonetheless, what I mean to say is, it came to my attention, believe it or not, that my first episode was not about, as a matter of fact, it was almost nothing shorter than a lie. So the episode says the beginning episode 1, and it says something along the lines of Extreme Rules 2021. I never talked about Extreme Rules in that regard. Like, I don't reference the matches almost nothing, if not. I talk a little bit about the Roman Reigns match that happened at Extreme Rules 2021. I talk a small bit about the Roman Reigns match against Finn Balor. But I don't do what I've been doing this entire time, which is sit down, put pen to paper, and review most of these wrestling matches that seem to have some sort of a rating of one person's opinion versus another person's opinion. But what I mean to say is, I'm going to next week review Extreme Rules 2021. I did, however, do a YouTube channel. I did a YouTube video. Of course you know that I have a YouTube channel. I did a YouTube video where I talked about it a little bit. A little bit. Not really extremely mentioning it in a fashion, in a way that's almost like I talk about the event itself. The only thing that I really touched on the first episode, a friend brought this up to me. He said, I listened to your first episode, and nowhere in there, or almost nowhere in there, do you ever talk about the title of the show. And then I was kind of like, no, that can't be right. I remember talking about it. I didn't. I'm baffled. Here I am thinking that I'm talking about something when in reality I'm not giving the content that I'm actually telling you that I'm talking about. Oh man. Nonetheless, speaking of Extreme Rules, not to take anything away from Bobby, but I went ahead. A friend of mine told me on Twitter, because I got friends on Twitter. God damn it, cat. As well as other places. A friend of mine told me that I can pick either a number or a letter, and he will pick whatever I don't pick. And then I will, as I told him I was having trouble figuring out what I'm going to review this week. And then he told me, okay, well just throw baloney on the wall. Of course, he's making a reference to the fact that one of my YouTube videos, of course he's referencing my YouTube videos, where I specifically said that WWE got the Intercontinental Championship picture wrong when they put their... Here's exactly what I said. I said something along the lines of, they must be putting their executives in a spinning office chair and spinning them in that office chair while they're blindfolded. And they've got this big target painted on their executive wall in their office. And they've got bologna, like a pack of Oscar Mayer bologna. This podcast is not sponsored by Oscar Mayer or Skippy Peanut Butter. And they take this bologna and then they spread it. They spread Skippy peanut butter on it, or Jif peanut butter on it. And they, while they're blindfolded, keep in mind they've been spun around 60 or 55 times in an office chair. They hit a name on that bullseye that I mentioned just earlier. I'm sorry that this is a long-winded explanation, but it makes sense that that's something that they would do in WWE in order to pick their number one contenders, because it seems as though that there's no work ethic that goes into it. So it seems to me that they would put their executives in a office chair. That's step one. Blindfold them. That's step two. Spin them around. That's step three. Step four, which it sounds like this should be step one, but they're not smart. So step four is, while one guy's spinning around an executive in an office chair and he's going wee all the way home, another guy's taking peanut butter and he's spreading it on the bologna, and this other guy is, while he's being spun around in the office chair, he says, okay, whatever name you hit on that bullseye while you're staggering around looking for salvation with your arms in the air trying to find your balance, whatever name you hit with this piece of bologna that's got peanut butter on it, well, that's what name we're going to give the world title, or for that matter, the Intercontinental. At the time, it was for the Intercontinental Championship. That's what we're going to give the Intercontinental Championship to. And it seems to me like they would either hit Sami Zayn, or whenever they would do that little mini game that I aforementioned, they would hit Brock Lesnar a lot. Either that or somebody's getting their dick sucked. Because it seems to me that there's no appropriate talent, no consistent booking that goes into the decisions that get made in order to figure out who the fuck your champions are going to be. At least in WWE. Other places I can't say the same for. However, had that been the case, as I said, not at the beginning of that rant, which was probably around 4 minutes in, I was told to pick a number, and my friend told me whatever I don't pick, he'll pick, and then it'll help me to find the supposed content that I'm supposed to be reviewing. So I had to pick a... God damn it, cat. I had to pick a pay-per-view from the year 2015. Not sure whether I picked the number or the letter. I don't necessarily remember. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I didn't pick the number 14. Because whenever I seen a screenshot of the Extreme Rules pay-per-view 2014 and the description that they gave on that screenshot, I'll pull it up. This is... It's a pay-per-view event that's 2 hours and 41 minutes long. It says Daniel Bryan faces Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship, World Heavyweight title. It says El Torito versus Hornswoggle in a WeLC match. If you don't understand what that means, it's because they're both... I don't want to upset anyone, or for that matter, like, literally get canceled for saying this, because, you know, someone takes offense to it. So I'm sorry, but they're both midgets. Do you get it? It's funny. It's funny because they're both small. And El Torito, for those of you who don't know, is a little man dressed up in a bull costume. And whenever he charges you, he literally charges you, you know, like a bull would. Oh my God. I'm so glad that I didn't pick 14. I was told to pick a number between 1 and 25, or pick a letter out of the alphabet, one of the 26 alphabetic letters. A through Z. Anyway, had that been the case, I chose one or the other, and here's what I got. Extreme Rules 2015. Seeing as though that I didn't do Extreme Rules 2021, that's what I'm going to be doing next week. And I guess I'll have to name it, like, Episode 1, Part 2. But nonetheless, it opens with a subliminal message telling of rules and how they're made for a purpose. It opens with, like, subliminal messaging, showing, like, sheep and all of them, like, flocking together. Like, you will follow the rules, or you will be punished for not following the rules. Rules were made for a purpose, and you don't follow the rules, then you don't follow the purpose. And then after that, some eerie voice comes out and then says something along the lines of, "Tonight, we break all the rules. There will be no rules." I guess if rules were made for a purpose and there will be no rules, then doesn't that mean that there will be no purpose? If you think about it. I guess they just don't want you to think about it. They gave you a riddle. They were hoping that you weren't smart enough to solve it. But guess what? I am that damn smart. And if that cat don't quit, I'm going to smack it upside the head. Little bastard. Nonetheless, we open after we get done with a little hype package that shows us all being rule following sheep, I guess. We open with a match, and this is something that WWE usually doesn't do, but I would like to applaud them for it now. You stupid cat. But the bell rings, and the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is a Chicago street fight. The first thing that you hear as soon as the lights come on, as soon as the camera comes, cat, I swear to God, I'm kicking your ass. As soon as the lights come on, I do apologize for that. That's what you basically get to hear, is the fact that there's a Chicago street fight, and they're going to start the action right away. No hesitation whatsoever. Usually they open with some sort of shtick, like a segment or a funny joke telling story. I mean, other than like the promo package to hype you up, kind of like to hype you up for the event. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Without rules, we wouldn't have a purpose. We have to follow the rules. The rules were made to be followed. They can't be broken. Tonight, they don't break any rules. Despite the fact that they just said without rules there is no purpose, or I don't know. I can't figure them out. They're just saying stuff to fill time at this point, and apparently so am I. Chicago street fight. Fun factoid, this was an hour-long street fight, if you believe what Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler and JBL say. I'm under the impression that I shouldn't believe what they say, but nonetheless, it's not important. I mean, what they say isn't important. Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper. And apparently JBL has a few nuggets of wisdom on commentary. So, speaking of that commentary, here it is. JBL says, Harper lives in a swamp. Something else that I should note, that King says, King and JBL were poking fun at Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose, and he was saying something about Dean Ambrose's shirt. He said, what's wrong with Dean Ambrose's shirt? He said, it's so dirty. And then he said, what are you talking about? That's the cleanest dirty shirt he's got. The cleanest dirty shirt he's got. And the funny part is, Dean Ambrose's opponent, Luke Harper, there's like a freaking sweat stain on his shirt, but they never point that out. He looks like he ain't showered in like 2 weeks. So, and Michael Cole asks JBL, how do you prepare for a street fight? He says, get run over by a car. He says you get slapped around a few times. Oh my God, I swear. Suplex from Harper to Ambrose to break the chair over Ambrose's back. Curse of the Goat, that's why Daniel Bryan's not here. Apparently the whatever Chicago team is on baseball. I don't catch up with baseball or anything like that. whatever Chicago team that's baseball hadn't won a World Series in like 75 years or something of that nature. And one of their newest or oldest players, apparently, the reason that they can't win a World Series is because of, and I'm putting this in air quotes, curse of the GOAT. But the curse of the GOAT, and for some reason, JBL says that's why Daniel Bryan is not here. A chair spot missed, but they still call it. Harper puts that steel chair up in the corner between the first and the second turnbuckle, and Ambrose runs almost headfirst into it. Harper trips him, and he misses. He misses the chair, but Michael Cole says, "Oh my God, he just got hit, just bending that steel chair upside his head." Cole, he missed. Calm down. He didn't bend it upside his head. He barely grazed it. This stupid motherfucker. I could do my job. I could do his job better than he can. JBL with a nugget on commentary once again. So, for those of you who don't know, JBL is infamous for throwing a Stan Hansen clothesline, and his clotheslines are like considered some of the most powerful, more powerful in the business. JBL's are. JBL calls Dean Ambrose, says he's throwing a hell of a clothesline. Harper gets away in a car, and Ambrose jumps through the window. Like, he doesn't like shatter a window or anything, but he jumps like through the window to chase after him, and then Harper leaves. Like, they leave into, like, according to the commentators, according to the commentary team, they leave into like the street, and it's fan-fucking-tastic. I mean it, just to see those two, and it's like, and then they cut to commentary, and they look genuinely confused. They're like, "Well, where did they go? We're supposed to have a match here, but they're nowhere to be found. What the fuck just happened? Where did they go?" It's hilarious. And I'll tell you the rating after the match concludes. I hate to spoil that, but they're coming back. Just not yet. Okay. Not yet. So I'm assuming that they went to go get lunch. Like, literally. They were like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" "I don't know, let's go to McDonald's." "Okay." And then they probably went to the McDonald's down the street at the Chicago, tried them some Chicago-style pizza. You know, they were there for like 3 or 4 days, according to some of the research that I'd done. Because there's no way that they were out on Main Street somewhere. Main Street probably isn't even in Chicago, but, you know, like, they're on a main street in Chicago somewhere, fighting each other with a steel pole or something. JBL would later go on to say, "I'm pretty sure wherever it was that Harper and Ambrose were, wherever they went, they're on a police scanner somewhere." Oh, God. But to rate the match now without the proper conclusion, which is later on in the notes, would be a discredit for the rest of the program. Nonetheless, that was our opening contest, and it was really entertaining. Then we cut to the Authority having a meeting. The Authority is, of course, made up of J&J Security, Joey Styles, holy crap, Joey Mercury, Jamie Noble, Seth Rollins, Kane, Triple H, and they're all in the Authority's office, and they're basically given a little bit of a rundown as to what it is that they need to do. They need to be on the same page, is what Triple H says to Kane. He looks at him and he's like, listen, you've both been acting like children, talking to both Kane and Seth Rollins and telling them that they need to be on the same page, that they need to stop with the bickering and the arguing. And then, of course, Rollins is like, well, had it not been for him, I would have already blah, blah, yada, yada. You know, a whole bunch of schoolyard dog shit that really the fans hated. Judging by their chants that they were having. We get a CM Punk chant because they are in Chicago, then a boring chant during a segment between Rollins, Kane, and Triple H. And then, after the segment is done, another stipulation match. This one went on for way too long, though. And the ending wasn't as... like, they made you think that Sheamus was going to win because it was kind of a stipulation where he couldn't lose, but he did lose. It was a Kiss My Arse match. So, for those of you who don't know, Sheamus is Irish. And he apparently can't say the word ass. And I'm not trying to say it like Nicki Minaj says it, but nonetheless, ass. This match wasn't at all ass. It was actually really good. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel as though that Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus both are better than this. Having a Kiss My Ass match. Then for those of you who don't know, or a Kiss My Arse match, rather. For those of you who don't know, this match, as stipulation heavy as it is, and it means that the loser must kiss the winner's arse. And JoJo, whenever she's introducing the match, she looks way too happy. Like, she's smiling from ear to ear. This is a Kiss My Arse match. Really, JoJo? Do you like to have your ass kissed? Or do you like to see some ass kissing? Nonetheless, it was a great back and forth. It was a great, just left and right and left and right. And the story is that this match was added almost last minute because the almost like a week before, Sheamus was scheduled to have some sort of surgery. And then once he got the surgery done, and they were like, okay, Sheamus, we're going to have you in a match against somebody here. And the only people in the room was like Daniel Bryan, who was out for an injury, but still able to show up for at least one episode, according to the research that I was doing. And not only that, but he was there, but he wasn't, like, supposed to be, like, there. Whenever I say there, he was there, but he wasn't like, oh, you're okay to compete. Get him in there, It was like, we need to keep you relevant, so since we're keeping you relevant, we need you to go out there and get hit with a punch. Nothing big. And he would. He got hit with a kick. That was the Monday Night Raw, I think, before this event took place. And then Sheamus comes out and basically says, oh, I'm tired of all these smaller guys getting all these opportunities. I need to teach one of them a lesson. Well, guess what happened? He got taught a lesson. Well, he was supposed to, but he didn't kiss anybody's ass. And the referee for this match, whenever Dolph Ziggler beat Sheamus, and the arse kissing segment took for goddamn ever. They must have spent like 10 minutes, like Sheamus just getting behind Dolph Ziggler and getting on one knee and about to kiss his butt cheek, or I guess if that's what he's supposed to be doing. Keep in mind this is PG. He just wouldn't do it. He's like, I can't do it. He's like internally struggling. Do I kiss his ass or do I not kiss his ass? Do I kiss his ass? Do I not kiss his ass? You know, it's kind of like the frickin' to be or not to be. That is the question. It was honestly like that. And then he was like outside the ring, and then he was inside the ring, and then he was outside the ring. And then the referee, like I said, with the best moment that I've ever heard a referee say, he looks at Sheamus and then he says, "You lost the match. Get in here and kiss his ass." Oh my God. Oh my God. King, before the Kiss My Feet match with Bret Hart that he had back in 1991 or 1994, King, he said before the Kiss My Feet match against Bret Hart, I didn't wash my feet for 3 weeks. Do you think either... He said, do you think either of these guys, you know, wiped their ass for 3 weeks? God damn it. Yeah, the referee, you lost, you gotta kiss his ass. A ref wants to see it. We get a pucker up chant. And then Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus gets into the match, or gets into the ring, rather, and then he acts as though that he's going to kiss Dolph Ziggler's arse, and then he gives him a low blow for his troubles. No mouths. No. You stop it. I don't know what their problem is, I'm sorry. New Day versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. The New Day is represented, of course, by Big E and Kofi Kingston. And Xavier was on, I wouldn't say commentary. Xavier was outside and he was trying to get everyone hyped up for it. Every time that he would clap, they would all clap, New Day sucks. He's outside the ring, right? Halfway through the match. And then he's like, what? Wait, why? Why are we chanting New Day sucks? He's like, look, we're winning. We're winning. And literally had Tyson Kidd and Cesaro on the ropes. And I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. It was entertaining for a tag team match, and it was the WWE tag team titles. We've seen new champions. And here's the thing with me. Sometimes, and I noticed this while I was writing all this down, I'll put titles. Other times I'll put championship. I need to stay consistent. I don't know why. Why 1 minute will I refer to something as a title belt, the next minute I'll refer to it as a championship. Sometimes I'll say title match, other times I'll say championship match. I don't understand it either. Anyway, moving on. Next up is the United States Championship match. Okay. Every match except for the tag team titles match on this card had a stipulation to it. Or at least one, sometimes two stipulations. For instance, this one was a United States Championship match. It was a Russian chain match. Some of you might be a little bit confused what a Russian chain match is. It's basically the equivalent to a hockey game where... Oh, okay. Never mind. Nobody knows hockey. Fuck. Okay, so imagine you had two cats in a box. Okay? Both cats had their tails tied to each other. So you would essentially have to almost trampolize both cats, right? And then while they're knocked out, you would have to tie their tails in a knot to where they're both tied to each other in one way or another. And whenever I say tied to each other, I mean literally strapped to one another. It's important that you understand how these superstars felt. This match, it was alright. It wasn't anything special. I feel like I've seen this concept done before, and I have. Quoting JBL, who obviously worked a different match. It wasn't a Russian chain match. Nonetheless, it was called a bull rope match. Nonetheless, there's 2 or 3 different variations of the bull rope match. And this one right here had 2 superstars tied to a chain. Oh yeah, the example with the cat. So imagine you tied 2 cats' tails to each other, and both cats understood what their goal was: to kill the other cat, or for that matter, incapacitate the other cat long enough for them to touch the 4 corners of the box that they were in a succession with only forward going momentum, was the stipulation for this match. So whenever one superstar would touch one corner, there would be 2 lights on each corner. One superstar would be represented by green, another superstar would be represented by red. This was mostly done in an effort in order to create the illusion that there was a contest aside from a submission, aside from a pinfall, and aside from a countout, aside from a disqualification. Any other things did not matter. What mattered was the fact that you had to, I guess, just touch all 4 corner posts in a succession. What made this extremely difficult was the fact that John Cena weighs 251 pounds and Rusev weighs 265 kilos. Not sure whether they're measuring cocaine or whether they're actually measuring the man himself, but it's not important, I suppose. Seeing as though that they didn't think that it was important enough to actually convert that to pounds, seeing as though that he's from Russia and they don't care, or for that matter, I would have had to done the research to figure out how many 256 kilos is. Over in like other parts of Europe as well, they'll measure you by stone. So you could weigh 112 stone. What does that mean? Does that mean if I put 112 rocks in on a scale, that's how much that I weigh? What kind of diets do they have over there where, I want to drop 6 stone? What? Is a stone 100? Like, I don't understand. But nonetheless, John Cena, the United States champion. Oh yeah, here's some irony for you. So, if we go back to WrestleMania, and that's what we're going to do. WrestleMania was the pay-per-view before this one. Rusev, coming into it, was the United States champion, and he was the defending United States champion, and he lost. So John Cena ends up winning that match. He ends up winning the United States Championship. And if that's the case, That's that's just John Cena. You know, he's buried people before, but Rusev had a lot going for him in this particular match, in this particular run. For one, Rusev before this was undefeated in NXT, in WWE. He had this big push, and since the 2016 Royal Rumble, or the 2015 Royal Rumble, which happened in January, keep that in mind, and this was in April, because that's pretty much when they have their WrestleMania event. But the week or 3 weeks after WrestleMania, this match happens, and it's basically John Cena just overpowering Rusev. At times, Rusev would overpower John Cena, but Cena really wouldn't, he wouldn't sell it like he was being overpowered. Rusev really didn't seem like a threat to that much of John Cena. And the irony in this is that he's from Russia and he's the United States champion. Or at least he was. John Cena comes out, and week after week after week, John Cena would come out beforehand, before this match even took place, and then he would give people an opportunity for the United States Championship, the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge. Here's my problem with this whole concept. I could have booked this a lot better. I believe in my own booking talent, as well as my own imagination, in order to make this out to be something that it should have been. Had that been the case, John Cena shouldn't have got away with everything, practically, that he got away with, that I put down onto this piece of paper. That's why I only gave this match 2 out of 5 stars. Really didn't like the ending of it. I really feel as though that Rusev should have won. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about pro-America, and, I'm all about, fighting the good fight, and for that matter, against communism, whether that be Russia or democracy like China. China's not, holy crap. The point is, I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble here. I'm not saying, yay, America, we're the best, because we're kind of the worst. But the point that I'm trying to get to, and don't worry, I'm going to get to it, is I would have allowed Rusev the victory at WrestleMania to defeat a star like John Cena and remain undefeated, for that matter. And Cena, being the star that he is, putting over the talent of something along the lines of Alexander Rusev, which they didn't call him that back then, but they called him that beforehand, over when he first came to the WWE. So I'm assuming that his first name is Alexander in this narrative that we're telling. I would have allowed John Cena to job. I would have allowed John Cena to job for Rusev, and allowed him to have a big push with the United States title. And with Rusev, I would have allowed him to do the United States Championship Open Challenge week after week after week after week. And regardless of whether he's winning dirty or he's winning clean, regardless of any of that, wouldn't be the point. The point would be to represent the United States title, or the United States Championship, rather. As I said, I go back and forth between title and championship. Nonetheless, that one was a really disappointing match. It went on a little bit longer than what it should have, but at the same time, it was a struggle to not only get through it, but it was also a struggle to watch John Cena bury yet another younger, up-and-coming talent. and then think, wow, they could have done that so much better. Sorry for the little bit of rant there. Divas Championship. Yes, you heard me correctly. Divas Championship. Keep in mind this was 2015. Naomi versus the champion, Nikki Bella. 2 out of 5 stars. It's kind of short. And they were supposed to have Paige versus Nikki Bella, but apparently 2 weeks ago, Naomi taxed Paige because she got jealous. This would incite a group known as Bad, Beautiful, and Dangerous, but in my opinion, they were just that. They were just bad altogether. Like, Tamina gave nothing to the group. Why was Sasha Banks there? No one knows, because Banks was already she was already a star in her own right, and she didn't need to be held down by someone like Tamina, or for that matter, Naomi. And for those of you confused, if I'm going a little too fast, they would come up with a group of 3 women, call them B-A-D, Beautiful and Dangerous. And they would call themselves Bad. Like, badass, or that's what they were hoping to accomplish, but really they were just terrible. Terrible as in bad. But that wouldn't come until weeks later. But Naomi versus Nikki Bella, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It really wasn't too entertaining. I'm all for women's wrestling. Really, I am. Because, you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that I talk about women's wrestling all the time. Take a look at some of those earlier episodes. Later on, we get this. For whatever reason, during the match, they must have been bored, the commentators, because they said lumberjack hunt for Bigfoot. He says, what happened to chopping down trees? He said, I thought lumberjacks chop down trees. He said, no, lumberjacks just hunt for Bigfoot. What? On commentary, they also make alliteration to the fact that Naomi at the time was wearing these light up shoes that were glowing for whatever reason. And they would change colors from time to time. Every time that she would kick somebody, or for that matter, miss a kick, or every time that she would use her feet, they would change colors. Because she had on like these neon boots that, for whatever reason, they'd change colors. I didn't understand it, but they weren't focused on the match itself. Instead, they were talking about dumb shit. And I don't know why they were talking about dumb shit. Like, who cares if she's wearing light-up shoes? What difference does that make? Naomi wearing light-up shoes has nothing to do with the quality of the performance of the match that's happening right in front of you. What the fuck is wrong with you? And why are you talking about lumberjacks hunting for Bigfoot? Swear. Nonetheless, next up. Yeah, we still haven't gotten to that Chicago street fight. I'm sorry. Don't worry. We're going to get there. I promise. Next up, we have a last man standing match. Roman Reigns versus The Big Show. Oh, and yeah, I already told you it's 2 out of 5 stars. Divas Championship match. And I was wrong. There are 2 matches that don't have a stipulation. The Tag Team Titles match and the Divas Championship match. Last man standing, Roman Reigns versus The Big Show. I probably spelled Reigns wrong, but that's okay. I forgot a G somewhere. I spelled it R-E-I-N-S. Yeah, R-E-G-I-N-S. I'm an idiot. Versus Big Show. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's a creative finish. Nice back and forth. So, here's what happens. Roman puts Big Show through a table. Big Show gets up from said table. And Roman puts Big Show through 2 other tables before he finally puts him through a 3rd table. So, and Big Show keeps getting up. He keeps getting up. So Roman had to get creative. He had to literally put Big Show through the Spanish announce table, and then after that, Roman Reigns had to use his 250-pound frame, nearly 300-pound frame, to sit on top of an announce table while Big Show was being counted out. Because the goal, in case you don't know, of a last man standing match is to incapacitate your opponent to where they cannot answer the referee's 10 count. For those of you wondering why I keep explaining what it is, like I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but I get people I try to ask other people who aren't wrestling fans to listen to my podcast. I implore them to listen to the podcast, and sure enough, they will, but they'll ask me questions afterwards. They'll be like, oh, like I've not watched wrestling for 8 or 12 or 14 or 25 or 35 or 55 years. I don't know what it is that you're talking about, sometimes. So I'll have to explain that to them. So I feel like it's a lot easier if I just explain it while I'm actually here and have the resources to do so. Had that been the case, Roman Reigns wins. Okay, and now we're at the main event. I could have sworn that I put something down here. So, maybe I didn't put anything down here, but if you go back and you watch the highlights to this, or even if you freaking look up the New Day's interview, somewhere in between here, the New Day has an interview where they're talking about their new tag team titles win, where they just won the tag team titles. So it's somewhere between that tag team titles match, and they're gone for like an hour. Like Ambrose and Harper are just gone for like an hour, and whenever they come back, Ambrose jumps on top of the vehicle that he commandeered, or that Luke Harper commandeered rather, and whenever he jumps on top of the vehicle, he just hits Xavier Woods with a flying elbow. And whenever he hits him with that elbow, he says, "You're getting your ass kicked." He's like, You're getting your ass kicked." He's like just pointing and saying, "You're still fighting." Because Ambrose missed Luke Harper. But nonetheless, I gave that opening contest 5 out of 5 stars. Once again, I can't be handing out 5 out of 5 stars like they're candy bars, Otherwise the validity of what I consider to be 5 out of 5 stars ends up going down. Understand that in the stock market, whenever supply goes up, demand goes down, right? Whenever demand comes up, supply goes down. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why there just can't be a healthy balance. But nonetheless, whenever a supply of 5 out of 5 perfect match ratings goes down, and then the demand comes up for it, what I consider to be 5 out of 5 stars has to stay consistent. Understand that, people. If I make a mistake as a critic, then people would let me know about it. Not only on Twitter, not only on Facebook, not only on fucking YouTube and everywhere else. Someone's got to critique my critiques, But nonetheless, Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper, 5 out of 5 stars. That was my first 5 out of 5 star review in a long time. Matter of fact, I haven't given one since. Hang on and I'll find it. What I consider to be 5 out of 5 stars has to be something that's somewhat entertaining. It has to be very, very good. Has to be something. For instance, here's a 4.5 out of 5 star match that I rated, and it's from the Royal Rumble. It was the Roman Reigns, even though I never wrote it. Yeah, I did. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins match. So, by this rating, 4.5 out of 5 stars, I'm saying that Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, Royal Rumble 2021, if that's 4.5 out of 5 stars, then what that means is that I'm saying that the Luke Harper Dean Ambrose match is half a star better. Which, because there was no rules, of course it's half a star better. Even though that match had a twist that I didn't see coming, and this one had a twist that I didn't see coming, well, tenfold, because, of course, they just drive back into the arena out of fucking nowhere. But nonetheless, and the Big Show Roman Reigns match, 5 out of 5 stars. So that was 2 for this event. The Dolph Ziggler Sheamus match, that was 3 for this event. And the event's over. The main event considerably was worse than every other match on the card. The stipulation, a cage match. The stipulation that Seth Rollins chose. Seth Rollins is the champion, for those of you wondering. He is the WWE champion at the time, even though I didn't write that down. And Seth Rollins would face Randy Orton. The stipulation that Rollins chose, that Orton cannot use the RKO in this match. And that was in the height of the whole authority thing. What essentially happens is Kane comes into the ring, he chokeslams Randy Orton, he chokeslams Seth Rollins, because Rollins kicked him in the face earlier in the match by accident, because Orton moved at the last minute while Kane was trying to open the cage door, and Rollins hits Kane in the face, but Kane seen it as though that Rollins did it on purpose, even though he didn't. Kane comes into the match, he chokeslams Randy Orton, he chokeslams Seth Rollins. Afterwards, he lays Seth Rollins on top of Randy Orton. You hear this 1, 2, and then you just see Randy Orton kick his elbow out, kick his shoulder up, and then you see the frustration on Kane's face, thinking, "Oh my God, what do I got to do to keep you down?" This match was extremely long, mostly because they had a lot of hype behind it. What I mean by that is they had to show what had happened 2 months prior, a month prior, 2 weeks prior, a week prior. You know, it just had a whole bunch of, it's like a boggled down story, and it's like, And commentary too was very boring, even though they were like just trying to keep up with everything that was happening. They were like, Seth Rollins wouldn't have won at WrestleMania had it not been for Kane. He wouldn't have won thanks to the Money in the Bank had it not been for Kane. And that's all that they basically kept driving home, was the fact that Seth Rollins is incapable of doing things for himself and that he's such a bad villain in wrestling. Oh, and the stipulation, the RKO cannot be used, apparently. That was the stipulation. It cannot be used at all, apparently. If it's used, Seth Rollins retains his championship. But there was a little bit of gray area there. Like, is this a, if you hit the RKO, you win match? Or is this a, if Randy Orton hits the RKO, Seth Rollins automatically wins his match type of match? Because Seth Rollins was under the impression that Randy Orton only had one move that he likes to hit all the time, because those are the three most destructive letters in sports entertainment history. Not even in wrestling history. Sports entertainment history. The three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment history. It sounds like that he's trying to rip off The Rock with the most electrifying move in all of sports and entertainment. But The Rock would say in all of sports and entertainment. He wouldn't say in all of sports entertainment. Nonetheless, these are just little bitty nitpicks, I guess you could say. I am a wrestling critic. Of course, I'm going to critique every nitpick that I can find, pick it apart, put it under a microscope, let them know what they did wrong, what they did right, or at least what I feel that they did wrong and did right. This match for me is a 3 out of 5 stars. Went on way too long. Didn't need to be a cage match. The commentary at the end was a little bit boggled down. And for that matter, it was a little bit off color. It was more or less about So Randy Orton goes to pick Seth Rollins up. Seth Rollins hits Randy Orton with an RKO. Seth Rollins then chooses to crawl out of the ring to win the cage instead of pinning Randy Orton, or for that matter, putting Randy Orton in a submission, or for that matter, climbing the top of the cage. In order to win the cage, he crawls out of the door, and whenever he does, his feet touch the ground. The bell rings, and then after the bell rings and Seth Rollins is handed his championship that he defended successfully, they then start to ask the question, wait a minute, the RKO just been used. They're not allowed to use the RKO. And then two people on commentary are saying one thing and one person saying another thing, and they're all boggling down the entire story. They're saying stuff like, oh, wait a minute, is he allowed to use the RKO? Because I thought the RKO was banned. What difference does it make whether Seth Rollins hit the RKO or not? It doesn't matter. JBL saying, the stipulation said that Randy Orton can't use the RKO. They never said that Seth Rollins can't use the RKO. And Jerry Lawler was saying, no, I'm pretty sure they said that the RKO was banned altogether. Like the entire move. Not just one person using the move. That doesn't benefit anybody. But never once did they actually say, or for that matter, did Seth Rollins actually say, if Seth Rollins uses the RKO, he will be disqualified. You want to know what they said? If Randy Orton uses the RKO, Seth Rollins can retain his championship by disqualification. nonetheless, that's the Extreme Rules pay-per-view 2015. I got to pick a letter or a number. I'm pretty sure I picked the number, but I could be wrong. I got to pick a number between 1 and 22, I think it was. Seeing as though that we're in the year 2022. And someone else got to pick a number, or I'm sorry, someone else got to pick a letter between 1 and 26 because we have 26 letters in the alphabet. Whenever they picked one of those letters, I picked one number, and I sort of went from there by bringing together using one letter and one number. The number represented the year, and the letter represented what pay-per-view I can look at that begins with that letter. Sort of a silly game to play. I could have just wrote down a whole bunch of pay-per-views, put them in a hat, or for that matter, a backpack, and then just picked one out of random. But there's a common theme you're going to notice in most, if not all, of the pay-per-views that I review. It's that they're missing someone that a lot of wrestling fans like. But I got a secret for you guys. I don't like him. I can't stand him. I hate him. And for that matter, I hope he dies in a fucking hole. So, Also, I know that I've already said this, but the Discord is now live. So, for those of you who want to join the Discord, you can now join the Discord. There's a Discord. Yes. It's called The Spirit of Wrestling. The Spirit of Pro Wrestling, rather. I wouldn't have named it something shitty like the Gut Wrench Discord. I don't know. I was thinking about doing something like, this is supposed to be the same concept, different idea type of thing, right? So I just name it the Gut Wrench something else. So I was thinking, what better way than to commemorate professional wrestling than to just name it the Spirit of Professional Wrestling. My name is Mocha. I'm also writing a book. I'm also active on Twitter. I'm also active on Instagram, for those of you who don't know. Think that that's all the social medias, maybe, that I've got, aside from PayPal, but I'm not going to plug that. Even though I slightly did, I didn't say the full thing. But nonetheless, next week we will be looking at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view 2021 rather than... Yeah, I'm not watching Elimination Chamber 2022. I'm not watching Vengeance Day NXT. Fuck that, okay? Both of those are terrible. I don't care about Braun Breaker. I could give two shits about him. I'm moving on to better things, okay? And I guess better things are just past pay-per-views. What I'd really like to do is watch AEW, but I can't find a platform to watch it on. Because Hulu Live TV costs frickin' $69. They could go fuck themselves for that. $69 a month. It's not worth it. Nonetheless, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. And, stay safe. That's a wrap.